if you want to introduce yourself a little bit, who you are in cubing, how long you've been cubing, what your notable accomplishments are, what you do now, that sort of thing.
Yeah, well, Twan Dullemond. I'm from the Netherlands. I'm a Dutchman, and I have been cubing since 2017, pretty much. I went on a holiday, and my mom and dad got me a cube, and I just started cubing. I put it down for a couple of years, but I mean, I picked it up later, and that was 2017, and since then, in 2018, I started competing. 2019, I podiumed at Dutch Nats, and then after that, I became 4-time Dutch national champion. That's about my highlight from my cubing career. Nothing much else besides
Achievements wise, you
completely
also have a
dominating
very
them.
kind of unique angle right now of having committed to full ZB a lot later in cubing than most of the other top people who we see using it. Most people who we see are like very young kids out of China. And then a couple of adults have learned it who are not as fast, and then Timon learned it, but I believe he was a few years younger than you when he learned it. So how long have you been learning ZB for, and how old were you when you made the switch from CFOP, and why?
It's about 2 whole years ago, I think.
Yeah.
I have a video on my channel that says ZB debut, and that was like right when I learned it, my first comp after learning it. So, and that was a 5:55 hour. So that's still PR3. Granted, I haven't really been competing at all, but sorry, oh yeah, ZB. So, yeah, that's been going good. I mean, I'm faster now than I was with CFOP, and my rationale behind it was mostly I just didn't see myself getting faster with CFOP. My F2L, just my turning wasn't improving much, so I just thought, well, I guess I'm just not built for extremely fast turning. Let me just become more efficient.
Mm-hmm. Okay. How long did it take you to learn the algs? And how has the last 2 years gone in terms of internalizing it and making it instinctive?
Learning the algs was really easy because I just I learned soons really fast. Like whenever I start an alg set, I just wanted to get done as fast as possible. I learned ZBLL almost in one day. So that's just kind of who I am. It was really badly in my memory, of course.
But you got through it. You could fumble your way through a recap of all the L cases.
Yeah, I knew it. Yeah. So, and so yeah, learning the algs was never a problem. Like even now, I probably know like 1,000 ZBLL algs, just alternative algs. Especially since I'm coaching now, I also want to have the best algs possible. So I just know a lot of algs. Obviously, I'm not good at most of them, most of the alternative algs, but my algs are solid.
Wow. Okay, so just to double check this, of the high 900 cases between ZBLS and ZBLL, you're saying you probably know at least 2 algs for every ZBLL case, and then you also know the ZBLS cases. Do you know all angles for the ZBLS cases as well, or is it all from one angle?
No, I know front right and also front left, but my front left is definitely worse, so you'll see me rotate quite instinctively. And also I've noticed that it matters quite a lot what orientation the F2L edge is. So sometimes, like even Schwanyi, he knows both front right and front left at the time of the World Championships, but on the first solve, I saw him do a rotation to get FR instead of FL. So,
wow. So you know something like 1,500 algorithms for full ZB, and you don't use all of them actively, but you.
Yeah, I also know like plenty of ZBLS algs. I mean, ZBLS is a lot more simple, so it's not impressive to know a lot of algs because a lot of them just make sense. They're not super difficult. You do have some like genuine ZBLS algs, but there are a lot of just setups to VHLS, so just setup to a free pair stuff.
Yes.
So yeah, learning the algs was not really a problem for me. Yeah, I guess the recognition was the biggest is the biggest issue for me. Recall is fine. Yeah, it's just recognition at this point.
So the last 2 years have not really been a question of executing. It's been a question of getting faster at seeing a case, connecting what you're seeing to the algorithm in your head.
Yeah.
What have the last 2 years looked like then? Because you said I learned it, I had a debut competition, and I got a really good average right away.
Yeah.
So what have the last 2 years, what have you been working on? How have you felt like you've improved or not improved?
I think the first year, I'm actually, let me double check. I'm not even sure when when I uploaded that video. Oh, it was 1 year ago. So I guess I only know for 1 year.
Okay, there you go.
Let me check the date. It's gonna be embarrassing if I get it wrong. Yeah, 2025. So 1 year ago. 1 year ago, I learned ZB. Yeah, so pretty much immediately, I after the summer, I started learning two-sided ZBLL recognition, which was a really big task, and I'm reaping the benefits now, but it's a big deal. That's been my main focus. Also, when I got that 555, I didn't know front left CBLS. I wouldn't say front left CBLS is super useful. It's quite useful. I think if you were to start learning it, it would be a good idea to just mirror every alg from front
Okay,
right to
yeah.
front left. I think that's a good starting point. I went about this the other way. Like a lot of them are just mirrors. The best alg is just a mirror, but I went about it in the way where, like, I thought I just wanted the best algs, like mostly right-handed algs. I thought would be the best, but I think definitely in terms of recognition, it would be best to just start by mirroring everything and then just making exceptions to the rule.
Sure. Okay. When you said you learned two-sided recognition, are you still using a uniform recognition angle where you turn the U layer so that the case is in the same angle and you're just looking at two sides of it? Or are you saying you can recognize your ZBLLs from any angle from two sides?
From any angle. So there's
Holy, that's insane.
approximately like 2,000. Like there's cancellations because of like HCBL. Some of the symmetries make it so that cases disappear, or cases are just the same. But like about 2,000, like I don't know the exact number, but about 2,000 angles exist for CBLO. And I think this would be a good point in the podcast because I prepared a little bit.
Okay, cool. Let's see it.
For you, because I've been developing like some documents about my ideas of ZBLL progression, and this is mostly about the ZBLL recognition.
Great. Let's see it.
Sure. So there has been a video on YouTube for quite a while that talks about BH case recognition, which stands for Baum-Harris, which are, I guess, the two names of the two founders of the recognition system. And it pretty much comes down to looking at the CP and the BH case. And the BH case is the 1x2x2 block in the front right. So generally, when people are recognizing ZBLL, they will look at the front side and the right side.
Yes.
So from that point onwards, you look at the 2x2x1. So this would be like the skip case, the build case. It's a full 1x2x2 block. And the CP. So what I've done is, this is how I recognize every single angle. So I recognize first the OCLL. So is it a TUL by H soon or anti-soon? Then I recognize the BH case in front of me, which will either be a case where the corner is oriented, twisted to the side, or twisted facing the front. And then there are 36 cases in total of these. So 12 for a corner oriented, 12 for this one, 12 for this one. And I've labeled these with memorable names. I'll get into that later.
Okay.
It's a whole other topic. Yeah, so these cases are quite easy. They're just a corner twist. I think many people will have, even if they don't know ZBLL, will have seen cases like this before. But when you get to some of the more difficult cases, it gets a bit more tricky. You have to know how to recognize them. Yeah, so at this point, I'm recognizing by checking the OCLO first, then the CP, and then the BH case.
Okay, so first you're recognizing by looking at which direction all the corners are facing. One of the basic
the orientation of the
OCLO
corner.
cases. Yep. And then from there, you're doing CP. Where are the four corners positioned relative to each other, which is like the COLL cases. And then from there, you're zeroing in on this 2x2 block in the front right corner. And based on which way that corner is twisted and the colors around it, you then are into a subset of one of 12 algorithms that you're finally executing.
Yeah, well, so once you have recognized the OCLL, the CP, and the BH case, you know which CBLO it is. So often there's even more information just by looking at two sides. It's quite incredible how little information you need to recognize a ZBLO.
Yes.
From any angle even. So yeah, you don't need, like, for a lot of cases, like, I don't know. For a lot of cases, you'll have like extra information. Like this red sticker is not part of my recognition. So I look at CP, which is typically every corner except the one in the back left.
Right, and
so
you can tell CP from that.
Yeah, I can tell CP from every angle. So just by looking at, I look at blue, red, blue here.
Okay, so you see blue, red, blue, and so, explain how you can predict CP from that for myself and then everybody who's at my skill level or below.
Yeah, so, it matters which stickers you choose. It's easiest to subdivide it by seeing it as two comparisons. So you look at, first you compare blue with red, or this sticker with this sticker. And sometimes it matches, sometimes it's opposite, so like blue, green, and sometimes it's adjacent. And then for the second comparison, which is blue to blue here, so this sticker to this sticker, it can again be matching, opposite, or adjacent. And then all those combinations are in total 6 combinations for every...
And those are the 6 COLL cases, if you know that alg set.
I didn't hear that, sorry.
So in my brain, I know COLL, so those are the 6 COLL cases that I recognize.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
So those are the 3 reference stickers for COLL, and you just have to memorize those. Okay.
Yeah.
So first you look at that, and then all you need is that front 2x2 to know the ZBLO case from there.
Yeah. So it's by first recognizing that it's an anti-soon, you've subdivided it. You know it's one of 72 cases, and then by you do 72 divided by 6 possible CP subsets, COLL subsets. That makes 12, and there are 12 possible BH cases.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
It does.
Yeah. So that's how I reduce it down. You need to forget about H, because H is special, but that's how it goes for every other
okay.
subset.
And then once you recognize the case, you are then having to recall your execution angle.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So I guess that's the downside of this. Is like you don't have the first U move baked in.
I would just always put an angle into the front that has a corner oriented, and then just recognize from here. But now I'm able to do it from every angle. which has also
Okay.
made me have to rethink about how I do post AUF prediction, because previously I would just go to this angle and then I would just know how to do post AUF prediction from here. But
Yeah,
now,
now you
since
have
I can go,
4 AUF
I have to.
prediction angles to think about.
Well, I've come to a very simple way to do it, which has only one downside. This is a good example actually, because here I know that I have to do a U2 for my pre-AUF. And
Mhm.
what I do now is for every single ZBLL, I just look at where does this edge move. So from the execution angle, where does the UF edge go? So I know that it stays here for this one. And this one is simple.
Got it. So you have one piece where you recognize the case, you turn the top layer to where you're going to execute from. You have one piece, which in your case is the UF edge, and you know in your head where that will end up after the solve for every case.
Yeah. And then the only tricky cases is for the U2 pre-AUF. And then for U prime, since you're mostly looking at the right and front, U prime is also not exactly in your vision.
So what are the downsides of the BH method versus the execution angle method that is like more traditional? Why has this not been the mainstream thing?
Well, I think I'm not sure what Schweini is doing, but I think he knows two-sided ZBL recognition. What I've heard from just rumors from China is that they just let them stare at a ZBLL forever and then they just know it. But that sounds like a horrible method to me.
I mean, if you're a really young kid, it may not be. That's how kids absorb languages, is they just learn it through exposure therapy.
I guess, yeah. But I think this would be much better. For me, it is only, yeah, like I said, it's only recently been helping. Still, I will make some mistakes. The way I learned this is I just went per OCLL. So I just went, like I started with, I'm not sure what I started with, but let's say I started with U.
Mhm.
I would just start learning every single case where it's a U2 from my normal angle. So this was the main angle I used to recognize from. Now I can do all angles. And then here I can recognize CP by looking at this one, this one, this one. So yeah, just going through this. So this is I recognize it's a U case. Then I recognize the CP by orange, orange, blue.
Yep.
And now I have to recognize the 1 of 12 BH cases. And then I know which one it is.
Right. And then from there, you know the execution angle, you go to that, you check your AUF recognition piece, you do the alg, and then you know your AUF from there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's the way I learned it. I think the best way to learn it would be, because I'm teaching this to 2 people. I think the best way to do it would be to learn per BH case. So like here, I prepared some notes. So since there's about like 2,000 ZBLL angles divided by 36 BH cases, that would make approximately 55 possible two-sided ZBLL angles. So not ZBLL cases, but two-sided ZBLL angles. Which 55 is quite a lot. So what I'm proposing is, traditionally people have been practicing ZBLL by just drilling the T set, by just drilling the U set, by just drilling the Soon set. What I'm proposing is a different way for a primary subdivision, which is per BH case. And then another idea I've had is to do it per PLL case. So you can think of ZBLL as just PLL with all the possible corner twist variations.
Yes.
Because if you...
So your term 55 ZBLL angles, you're saying this is a new way of thinking about subset, where when you say angle, you're saying this particular 2x2.
Yeah.
Can you show me more of the BH cases? I
let me
only
keep
saw
it
3 or
very.
4 of them.
Let me keep it very simple. So this
Okay.
is a ZBLL case. It says 1 alg and 4 angles, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So this has.
Okay, I see.
So this number just comes. Like, I don't know the exact number. It's not exactly accurate because of the symmetries, I think. But this is just 493, which is, I believe, that's the correct
I see.
amount of ZBLL cases.
Even though you're memorizing the same amount of physical movements, it's like
Yeah, the same amount of
490
alg.
something physical movements, you now have to memorize approximately 4 times the amount of visual associations to the physical algorithm. And so you're
Yes.
saying if the goal is to memorize the 4 different visual associations to each physical movement, it makes more sense to divide it into 55 subsets instead of the 6 split by CP.
No, divided by the 36 BH cases, which would contain 55.
Okay. 36
possible.
subsets with 55-ish angles in each subset.
Yeah.
Okay. I think I'm tracking.
Yeah. But this 55 will contain multiple angles of the same ZBLL alg, right? Because if you
yes.
like
The same
36
physical motion,
times
but you're
times
looking at it from
55 would
different
get you back
directions.
to the approximately 2,000 ZBLL angles, which which means there are multiple times the same. Like for example, if you like, I'm not sure. Let me. Like let's say this ZBLL. This has wait, not this one actually. Let's just do an A perm. This has the same BH case on 2 different 2x2x1s. So here is this case I call wind, and if you just do a U move, it has the same pattern.
Okay.
So this would show up 2 times in the wind category. There's also cases where, like, let's just say I twist the corners. This case, even though the corner is twisted, I still call it wind. And that's a way to associate twisted corners with the corner-oriented case. So with these labels, what I'm trying to achieve is to associate. That wasn't correct. Hold on. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to associate a twisted corner case with its, like, if you just were to twist this corner, it would give this. So I'm trying to associate the twisted corner case with its twin of the oriented case. So my theory behind it is if you just assign the label of the twisted corner to the one that is not twisted, eventually people would just be able to see the PLL through the ZBLL.
So why are there 36? If you're doing this as if you're seeing through to the PLL.
Well, does
that make sense?
3. I'm not exactly sure what you mean, but
okay. So you said that. Okay. Maybe this is a better question. Is your naming scheme the same as the 36 BH cases?
Yes. Or
Okay.
no, that's a good question. So the naming scheme, I have 12 names. So
That's what I was missing. Okay.
yeah, um, where to have it? So yeah, this name I in
Right.
my mind I think of it as this one because I mean I think everyone can agree that PLL cases, like if you just were to go like do something like this is a lot more memorable than one with a twisted corner. So
Mhm.
in my mind, I'm thinking of it as this, and the labels are only relevant for the idea of seeing the PLL through the twisted corners. Otherwise, the
Mhm.
labels are quite irrelevant.
I see. So there are 36 BH cases, but the way that you've labeled it is to try to get somebody to recognize it as if they are recognizing OLL and PLL simultaneously. Like,
Exactly. Yeah. So
mhm,
why I'm adding the labels is to associate it with the oriented corner case
mhm.
because PLL has only oriented corners.
So you're doing this because if you get a case that has a twisted corner, it is faster in your head to mentally twist the corner and then recognize the imaginary case where the corner is oriented instead of having a whole new recognition scheme for the twist.
Um, no, so that's a good question. So, um, what I don't want to do is just mentally twist the corner. That's not what I'm doing.
Okay.
So I'm to avoid having to mentally twist the corner, I'm adding the label so that the label does the
I
association to
see.
the main case.
I see. You're trying to remove a step in your brain with the label.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So the theoretical end state is you're recognizing OLL and whatever PLL is going to happen underneath it. But what you
Yeah. So
don't
we
want to
can,
have to do is like mentally rearrange the cube. You want it to be instant. So you created these
yeah.
labels so that you don't have this intermediary step between I see, I'm mentally rearranging, and then I'm recognizing what I mentally rearranged.
Yeah. So it would be good to clarify, like, because I've had like multiple ideas of how this can progress.
Okay.
So, like, I want to give an example of seeing the PLL through the twisted corners. So, um, this is a good case. So here, um, or I guess we should start with a PLO. I think that'd be better. So for this, I've learned all the labels for all 12 of the oriented BH cases.
Mhm.
So this I call castle, this I call mountain, and then this is space and space, I believe. So um, if I were to twist corners again, those labels remain the same. So here is still mountain, here is still castle, here is still um, space and space.
Yes.
So those remain the same. Um,
Okay.
and so the way you would like this would be one way to subdivide the ZBLLs in order to train them. So that's 55, including sometimes multiple of the same algs within these 55. So that's
Mhm.
55 is quite a large subset. I think in general it should be a lot smaller in order to effectively train ZBLLs. But 23 and a half on average would be much better. And then you would be training per PLL case. So like when I'm just doing hand scrambles or like in the train or whatever, every time I get to last layer, I will try to guess what the PLO is. So, or I guess deduce what the PLO is. So here's a pretty decent example. So here, like if you know the CP,
Mhm.
this is, wait, you've learned this, right? Which one is this?
I just know that this would end up with headlights. Well, I would do a U2 for mine, and I know that this would be headlights on the left, I think.
No, so this is diag.
Oh, okay. Oh, right.
Yeah. So, but this is by doing CP. So you have two options pretty much. You can do CP. So first recognize that it's a pi, but then you can do CP plus a BH case. But I think it would be worth experimenting with to also practice recognizing by, this is not two-sided. So this would be recognizing one BH case here
Yes.
and then recognizing one to the side. Because when you're doing ZBLS, sometimes an entire 1x2 block
Is
will
preserved.
just remain preserved.
Mm-hmm.
And I think changing the order in which you recognize these three cases would be much more
That's crazy.
effective. Because recognizing CP, the way people at the top have always done this is they've selected 3 stickers, so not pieces,
Mhm.
3 stickers, and they compare them with one another. But if you were to try to predict the stickers of the CP first, like I know which one it is from, like I know that we just saw a diag, but I would have no idea how to, it would be very, very difficult to predict those stickers. So some people, like my student Luca for the Soons, in 2x2, he just finds the position of the blue-red piece, and then he will find the position of the blue-orange, and then the red-green, and then maybe the last one as well if it's necessary. And based on the position, so not just random color combinations, but the position of each corner, based on that, you will know which of the 6 CP sets it is.
Wow.
So that could be worth experimenting with if you want to start your CB recognition with CP. But then what I'm proposing is, just forget about the CP, do a different order. So this is the way people do it.
Mhm.
People
Yep.
recognize, okay, is it a TUL, that's the OCLL, or is it a H-pi soon, anti-soon? Then they recognize the CP, and then they recognize some sort of block or just straight up a BH case like I do. Right? Because like when people recognize, how do I, like when people recognize a U case, like even people that aren't necessarily a top cuber, but they happen to know like a 2GLL or 4H like this one, they would recognize it's a U case, they would recognize the CP, and then they would just look at the blocks here.
Yes.
So exactly in that order. First it's a U case, then it's CP, and then the block. So I think this would be much, much better for look ahead. The other way around. So first BH case, then OCLL and CP can probably just kind of be combined, like at a level I'm at, and people like Schwanyi are, which is even better than me, of course. I think this would just kind of happen.
That happens automatically anyway. Yeah.
Subconsciously, maybe even, yeah.
Yeah, like you pick that information up as you get to ZBLS and as you go through it anyway. And so what you're saying is if you learn a recognition scheme that is at least partially preserved before ZBLS, then you can start recognizing it like as you start the ZBLS alg.
Well, I didn't start developing this specifically like for the reason that like in this specific ZBLS case, it's really
yeah.
useful to just have something fully preserved, right? But I mostly started developing this from the perspective of just learning more recognition systems would just be better. That
Wait,
was
why? Doesn't that gum up your brain? Like if the goal is to be fast, don't you want as little information in your brain as possible? Or is that not how you were thinking about it?
I get what you're saying. That's exactly why I stick to the BH recognition so strictly for two-sided recognition. But previously, what I was doing for ZB recognition was just kind of random. It's just like, I will look at the OCLO and the CP, but then I'll just kind of look at the block that's here. And then especially with H and pi, people will just like have really messy recognition systems. Like they will typically have this angle, and then they'll just like the way I used to do it. Sometimes I will do my standard angle. I will recognize it wrong because I'm still used to my old recognition system. I would just kind of look at whatever patterns over here, and then just kind of look what's over here. It was just random. It was just anything that stood out to me. But this BH case technique is just keeps it really consistent.
Okay, so you started developing this all the way out not because of the continuity between ZBLS and the recognition, but rather because it's like a very structured, consistent way to learn the whole thing. And it has the added side benefit of, in some ZBLS cases where a block is preserved, you can kind of look ahead.
There's two separate techniques. There's just learning two-sided ZBLS recognition by learning the BH cases. And then the labels is the second thing that I'm just thinking about a lot, which has to do with seeing the PLL through the corners. So those are the two aspects, the two topics that I'm kind of discussing.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, is this clear to you?
Somewhat. I think I'm not good enough to be like processing all of it as somebody who actually executes it. Like you saw, I got a CP wrong on a pi case. Like I shouldn't be doing that. But so the labels, you don't use those labels where you clump 3 BH cases together in your recognition scheme. That's just like
No, I don't do that yet. So what I'm currently learning is I want to know all 4 labels for every PLL. So for something as simple as an N-perm, it's the same BH case for every single time.
Sure.
So this one's easy. This one I just knew. But for something more complicated like an R-perm, this has 4 individual labels. I think it would be good to know every single one of them, because then by using the labels, I will be able to hold on. Okay. Are we good? I mean, my Wi-Fi disconnected, I think.
We're back. We're good.
Okay. Yeah. So by using the labels remain the same. Like this is an F-perm. The labels remain the same regardless of the orientation of the corners.
Yes.
So the story, I guess, of all the 4 labels, all the names remain the same. So, yeah, I mean, you'd have to look at it yourself on like, I know all the labels, so it's a bit more apparent to me. But I guess this is a relatively simple
And the
examples.
benefit of those clumped labels, if you're recognizing a ZBLL by the BH system and not using your label, why is someone learning the label if they're doing ZBLL anyway? Like, I understand that it's cool that you can see the PLL through this, but what's the solving benefit of it?
I think I'm not too sure, but I think in general it is just a lot easier to look ahead to. Like I've only just learned this, and I think eventually, like if you just gave me a kid and I would teach him this from the beginning, I think that kid would maybe even start to have trouble distinguishing. I mean, probably not, but distinguishing um, this twisted corner case with the non-twisted corner case. And yeah, I'm still thinking about it. So this is a bit more unclear, but I think I think eventually people might be able to see the PLL just very instantaneously through the twisted corners. That's my goal, I guess.
Sure. I'm just trying to understand why. If you're only using the BH
It's to
subdivisions
reduce
to
cases.
recognize,
So
Mhm.
yeah, if you assuming you have a cuber that can instantly see the PLL the through the corners, then the subset is much smaller.
Right.
Like
Okay.
I
So
discussed.
you are not necessarily using the knowledge of I see the PLL below this in a solve, but it provides a way for you to drill the cases in a narrower way.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Okay.
think that's a good way to say it. And it's also a way to avoid having to like I think this would be useful as well, drilling just by BH case and then um having to do the 55 altogether. Um yeah, sorry if I'm not being too clear, but I'm still, it's a pretty
Oh,
recent
this is really cool to me.
mhm,
I understand that it's like more raw, kind of developing
yeah.
a new system
'Cause
for a really advanced method.
don't you think that, like, if you were to give a Chinese kid that's super dedicated, if you were to give him these labels, that he would just be able to see the PLL through the corners? I think he would.
Well, I'm unsure because you need all four labels. You need to look at all four angles to see the PLL, right?
Well, I think two would suffice, and especially with CBLL, this is I think an advantage even of CBLL cases over PLL cases. Maybe not, but especially for H and pi, the CP is super easy to recognize because all the
Mm-hmm.
corners are just on top. Like it's just subconscious. It's really easy. So that's even more assistance to see which PLL it is.
Mm-hmm.
And I think at most you only need two BH cases. And then if you see the CP, you only need one, like we just discussed. So it's you recognize this an H case, you recognize the CP, and then you only need one BH case to check which one it is. But if you were to, I think you could replace CP recognition with two BH recognitions, but I'm not 100% on it. I'm pretty sure it did. Yeah.
Right. Um, I think that yes, if you taught this system to a Chinese kid, they could see the PLL, but I'm still not understanding why. Like in the limit, if you know the BH cases, you're not really mentally like the fact that the subset is 55 algorithms versus 23.5 algorithms doesn't affect recognition speed once you know everything, right? So it affects learning speed, but not so much the end result.
Yeah. I guess why I wanted the labels is I noticed that while learning two-sided recognition, I noticed that this was a lot and I needed more associations. What I'm trying to do is I need association. So during look ahead, like if you're doing look ahead through ZBLS, like a lot of pieces are moving in front of you. You can get a lot of information while you're doing the ZBLS. But all of the top cubers, like unless there's like a huge block that gets preserved, like I just showed in that example, like unless there's something like that, like all the pieces that are moving in front of you are just completely irrelevant because mainstream ZB recognition teaches you to look at CP first.
Oh, so are you saying, okay, I might be connecting the dots. Are you saying that if you can see the PLL through the ZBLL, you don't need to recognize using CP? Instead, you should look at 2 of the BH cases and just recognize by that.
Yeah, perhaps. That I'm still thinking about.
Got it.
Yeah.
I think the reason that I'm struggling to like fully grasp it is because I'm only thinking in terms of what happens in the limit, where somebody completely knows the alg set. The reason for that is I never actually went through with learning more than a few dozen cases myself. So all I can think about is if you knew all the algorithms perfectly, how would you recognize it? What's the ideal end state? You're thinking about it through the lens of like, how would I teach this to somebody? How do I learn it and retain the information myself? So the whole labeling and the different like mental hooks for seeing PLL through that OLL and the OLLCP is something that you're wrestling with, but I don't have personal experience to attach it to.
I guess one more thing is, so there's 3 steps to ZB recognition, the OCLL, CP, and the H case. OCLL is just super easy to recognize. It's just like everyone knows, well, not everyone, but...
Well, obviously I don't, but everybody else who's smarter than me knows.
Every intermediate cuber, every 15-second cuber knows pretty much from every angle, is this an H, is it a pi, is it like which OCLL it is.
Yes.
So by learning the labels, you like I think the combination of like at my level, everyone knows how to recognize the OCLL. So I'm ignoring that and I'm just checking BH cases. So here I would check this one and then I would check the one next to it. Like obviously, like this is not even two-sided recognition. So I share your sentiment. Like how would this be useful in during a solve? But yeah, it's too. I think it would be useful to know these labels to avoid having to recognize or specifically recognizing which OCLO it is. I don't know if that makes sense.
It does. I just think that like
good
functionally won't happen, but it's a very cool theory.
Yeah.
How has it been teaching?
That was about all I had to say.
Okay. How's it been teaching all this stuff to people? Because you said you're teaching this system to a couple of kids and you've gotten to coach a variety of very fast people.
Yeah, so there's 2 that are learning ZBLO, and then like I still haven't gone around to teaching this, of course. I mean, it's very advanced and they're not there yet, but yeah, this is something I'm thinking about all the time because I do, I'm just thinking about all the Chinese rankings and I think it would be cool if I could launch some Dutch super fast kids in there, maybe in the future.
Yeah.
Now that's kind of ironic because my one of my recent videos was one of my students, and he couldn't retain his Dutch passport because he has 2 international parents, so he's not even Dutch. But yeah,
Okay. You in the Netherlands and Maddie here in North America are both hoping to do that same thing.
yeah.
Um. Okay. Do you
Yeah.
need the
Anything else you
document for
want to talk
anything
about?
else? Oh, I've got lots of other things I want to talk about,
Sure.
but
Let's
let's
do.
hear about these guys here.
Okay. Yeah. Well, one thing I noticed is the way that Xuanyi, Qixin, and Zhao can grip the cube is different than how I did it. So, let me get a cube somewhere. So I grip it a lot more. They move their fingers further across the cube, I guess. So to exaggerate it, they're holding the cube a lot more like this.
Would you
I can
mind?
stop.
Yeah, stop sharing so that I can see it better.
Yeah,
Okay,
exactly.
so why?
And I mainly see this with Qishan, I think, and their grip, while they just hold the grip, this is mainly for RUF turning. Their grip, they have to change their grip if they want to do RUD turning a little bit.
Yes, yes.
So this is the reason why they're so good at those home grip F primes that you hear me and Felix fanboying about all the time.
Yeah.
And it's because of their grip, so they're really bracing the
Oh,
the
this is
back and the
something that
F
I
layer a
looked
lot.
at a ton back in like November when Luke Greiser was like, "You have to do pinch F. You have to." And I was like, "Okay, I can't. I'm trying and I can't. What is wrong with me?" And I like slow mode all the Chinese kids, and I saw that same thing where it was like, "Oh,
Oh, cool.
they're covering both of the back too." And Timon teaches this as well. As he's like, "Home grip is not this. Home grip is this." Where
Yeah.
or well, this with left ring hand, left hand, where
Yeah.
you're covering two, and then you have this available for RU. But the reason the kids are able to have so much stability to do turns up here with their index is
Yeah.
because of what you're
Exactly,
describing,
yeah.
where their home grip is actually not symmetrical. It's far more stabilized with one hand so that you can completely let these fingers off the cube to get over here.
Well, I think they do it with both hands, maybe not at the same time, of course, but like I saw Qishan do some crazy finger trick where she was doing like an R2 and then like immediately like an F prime that just seemed impossible to me. And the first SSL I competed in, which was SSL season 2, I think, Yiheng's mom told Timon to exaggerate his turning and maybe also his grip. I'm not quite sure. You'd have to ask him, but she told him to exaggerate his grip, and that really helped him. And this is kind of the same thing where you're kind of overextending your fingers. And then because you're mainly your pinky, I think, is just more engaged in stabilizing the cube, switching to something more RUD takes more of a movement to change your grip.
Yeah. So when
And I
you say
don't.
over exaggerate, when I'm talking about this, I'm like I'm gripping the cube with my fingers flat on the cube like this. You're saying do this, where you're gripping so far
No,
over, or
not necessarily. I just mean
okay,
moving it further across.
yeah,
Yeah.
okay. That is definitely one of the ways, though, that the Chinese kids are able to do all these like middle finger into F PLLs and OLLs and ZBLLs. They do.
I've gotten better at it, but I'm still, especially for ZB. For ZB is really important because all the ZBLS algs, all the good ZBLS algs, all have. You need to be good at home grip RUF turning with those index fingers.
When I was
Like all of them
talking to
have it.
Maddie, like in I forget when this was, November last year, he was like, "Yeah, man, I've gotten like 0.3 slower, 0.4 slower." because I'm trying to work in these middle finger U, index F algorithms that I see all the Chinese kids doing, and it's hard. But like I'm starting to get faster from it. I'd love to see how he's doing now, but this is a super interesting thing. Cube Master just made a video about this same thing, about how the Yihang biases toward algorithms that use middle finger for U and pointer for F. So yes, it's super cool.
A similar thing is a push move as opposed to a drag or a pinch move. So like RU, Maddie will always do RU like this, I think. And a lot of people are, and I think this the kind of like almost F move, U move after the R should be your main way to do it. Like my main way to do it is just do push moves. Like I do push moves all the time, but I think those pinch moves are just better because I think it just has to do with the way your fingers work. Because they're made to grab, they're not made to extend.
I did a good bit of reading on this actually. I have a video buried somewhere where I yap about like the biomechanics of your finger, and then a medical student responded to it and sent me an hour video of him dissecting my hour video, and all these studies about it. But Dylan Miller is huge on this, about doing pinch moves, not push moves. There's like, my first principles reasoning for it is two things. There's moderately more strength in a pull versus a push, and the way your tendons are set up is one. But the main reasons for it are, number one, your finger gets more stable the more retracted it gets, and less stable the further out it gets. Like precision and stability lessen as you go this way, and grow as you go this way. And I would rather have momentum behind my turn than a loss of momentum.
Good point.
And then the second one is that I would rather use my dominant than my non-dominant, and almost always RU is that. And if you're doing RU-F turns, you want your left index free for the F, so pinch into that is almost always better. Dylan and then his doctor friend, the guy's name is, I'm forgetting his name, but he made a whole video and posted it in Cubic's Friends responding to me. They are both like, pinch is objectively way better. Always do pinch with your right hand for the RU move.
Yeah. But then a cool exception to that is Royhung. He does push moves all the time.
Well, Royhung is an exception to like
also
most
an exception, but I'm not a
rules.
good turner, you know.
Yeah. Okay, so we have
Royhung has super fast turning, and he always does push moves. Like if you look at his Asian record, or a former Asian record, like he had triple sexy pretty much in his solve, and he did them all with push moves because he had the double sexy, and then he had to do U prime sexy sledge. So all of those were done with push moves, I believe. Whoa. And they were like overworks as well. And that solve had 14 TPS, so I guess he's just an exception.
Yeah, he's just crazy. Okay, so we had that. There were more things in your document. What else did we have?
Sure, yeah. Yeah, there's one way that I'm, like a different way to drill. I'd have to open more documents for this. Like a different way to drill ZBLS. So, wait here. Oh no, it's the same document. With this example, so normally the way people train ZBLS cases is by, you have a certain F2L pair, and then you go to a trainer like Morgan Ye or Caden Lee or whatever, and then you select them all and then you recap them, or you just get random cases all the time of if you just were to select these 8 cases of F2L1, you just get these in a random order. But what I've been doing a lot is something I call drill rows, which means like there's different types of orders, but pretty much it comes down to a time attack pretty much. So a ZBLS time attack for this case specifically, I
Oh,
this
you're
is the
not sharing
order
your
in which
screen
I'm
right now, by the way.
Oh, sorry. So this is the time attack order. And it starts with the full EO, and then I do all the ones that have UF oriented, so UF, UL, UF, UB, and only UF, and then all the ones that have UR oriented, so UR, UB, or UL, UB, UL, and then only UB, and then the dot case. So I do this for every F2L case that has an oriented edge in the top layer and the corner somewhere. So that's all of these F2L cases. And then I will, like, first to learn the drill row, you would look at all of these 8 cases, but I now know all of these. I know the order by heart, so I would always put the oriented F2L edge matching the center, so on the right here.
Yes.
And then I would go through this order. And the reason I like this way, it's especially good for recapping, and also for recognition. I've noticed, I mean, I've had solves where like I would just be drilling this for like an hour, even more, and then I'd do some solves, and then I'd notice like, wow, my recognition has really gotten really good for a case that I've just practiced, you know. So yeah, the reason I like this is because normally when you're training with a trainer, it feeds you the case and then you have to respond. But here you have to think of the case and then you have to do it. So it's a different way of training it.
Cool. Yeah. So you're saying even though you're not necessarily recognizing the cases, that doesn't matter a ton because you're just reinforcing it a different way in your brain.
Well, I'm saying you're kind of your own trainer. So you have to think of the case and then you have to do it. So I'd still say just normally just training with a trainer is typically how you should probably spend your time. But I think this is a good way to recap.
Yeah, and you're
also
right though that when
to get rid of, like, some cases are very similar. Like obviously these cases are also quite easy because it's just a free pair, so it's all pretty easy. But the cases that look alike, like there's some very specific ones.
Yeah, if you force yourself to reconstruct it in your brain, it helps you differentiate the similar ones.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, exactly what you said. So
it's also not crazy to do practice without having the visualization in front of you. There's a number of like neural pathway studies on piano players and on basketball players where they split tested students who practiced like shooting free throws and then students who sat in a chair and imagined themselves shooting free throws, and then students doing scales versus imagining it. And the visualization people performed approximately the same across a controlled trial versus the people who did the actual physical activity. Like, as long as you're splitting, you're right that it can work well without the example in front of you.
Yeah. I think it's just a problem that it's just a super lazy way to train. It's just you just get feeded the case, you have forever to think about it. You're just not very active. So this is a much more active, you have to be very active in order to do the drill row, because not only do you have to know the correct alg, you have to know the correct pre-AUF, you have to execute it correctly across all 8 of the cases. And then if you do it correctly, you will always end up with the same last slot, last layer case. If you don't end up with the same last slot, last layer case, that's a sign that you're doing something wrong. So this is also a muscle memory test.
Cool. Yeah, I like that you're it
So
forces your brain to not just be in habit loop.
It's a super proactive way to practice.
Hmm.
Yeah. So we were talking about like cases that are similar, like F12, 19, and 21 are notoriously very similar because they have an oriented edge and an oriented corner that is not touching the edge. So these cases can look super duper similar, like some specific cases, like maybe this one looks a lot like this one. But when you're doing the drill row, since you always put the edge in the UR position, it becomes very similar which one is F12 19 and which one is 21 because the corner will either be here or here.
Yes.
Yeah. So I like to practice this. Like I've got a whole document for myself as well that I've almost completely filled out of all the cases. So I just write down my PVs here. So I've gotten them all
wild.
sub 8. I've gotten them all sub 8 by now. And then you can also see that so this is row 2.2. This is exactly the same as row 1, which I just showed you with an oriented so F12 1, 5, 7, 15. These are all cases with an oriented edge and the corner twisted with like just twisted in one of the ways. What was I talking about?
I think you were going to show me a row of your document.
Yeah, so you can, those are the ones oriented. So that's row 1.1. Or it's 1.2 actually. 1.1 is with oriented corner. But you can see row 2, so 2.1, 2.2, 2.3. They're all a bit slower because the edge is misoriented.
Right. It's more moves to orient all the edges in the algorithm.
Yeah, and they're typically just harder to execute. Typically the move count's like the same. So
okay.
That would be cases like F12 6, this one. It's the same as F12 5, but it's just mirrored, you know? So this one has a misoriented edge. And sometimes they are just the same speed, but generally they are slower, which is also why I think, like right now I'm teaching ZBLS to two of my boys, and they, like I'm not even teaching them the algs for row 2. So that's like all of the ones up until F12 24 with a misoriented edge. I'm not even teaching them that. I'm just teaching them, like for this case, I've taught them F12 23, and I'm just teaching them to rotate to
mirror,
front left, and then just do it on the.
Makes
just
sense.
As a shortcut. Like obviously it's good. It's better to know the algs, but
sure, dude. All this stuff
you want to know. You want to know front left eventually, anyways. So
this just makes me so happy. I'm not grinding 3x3 to this level. Like this is completely absurd.
Are you happy you didn't choose to do ZB?
I'm so happy, bro. Oh my goodness. So Western Championships was like 3 weeks ago, and it was such a fun comp. It's probably my favorite comp I've ever been to. Kevin Hayes was there, and he sat with me for most of the competition. So I got a lot of like watching big cube solving and talking about big cube solving. And I really enjoyed that. And watching Kevin is cool because like, I feel like I can get there over a couple of years. I also did a lot of judging and a lot of commentating on the stream. And like Zerui Chang was there, obviously watched Max and Dylan. And there were several solvers in like Pyraminx, 2x2, 3x3. Like I'm thinking of Nancy Liu, I'm thinking of Hrishikesh. I forget his last name. Gosh dang. Micah Yo solving one-handed. Like a bunch of these guys and Nancy girl who were doing the short events they were incredibly skilled. Like their turning was so precise and so fast, and their depth of knowledge into what they do. And like listening to the stuff that you're thinking about, you're like 30 something in the world right now for average. And the depth of knowledge and skill and like bazillions of hours of training you have is unreal. And yet still there's all these people who are faster. Like the short events
I
are
mean, I
so
haven't been
stressful.
competing. I
Okay,
could get sub 5,
this is a good point.
but
What are your ambitions competitively? Like we're coming up on Euros, we're coming up on summer competing season. Like how much longer do you see yourself being a competitive cuber? What do you think you're maybe capable of? If you want to talk about it, if that's jinxing it, that's fine. But like you haven't been competing, you have all this knowledge and all this system that like basically no one else is using. So where do you see yourself being over the summer and over the next year and a half competitively?
yeah, I think the fact that I'm thinking about all of this shows that I'm mostly thinking as a coach these days, I think. Um, yeah, I want to get sub 5. I've not performed very well at Euros the last 2 times I was in the final, so I would like to do well. Um, so I want to continue drilling, but I'm like improvement goes quite slowly for me these days, and it takes a lot of
Sure.
work. So I'm mostly focused on the theory and coaching aspect of things. Yeah, but I do want to get. I
On
want to
the
get the sub 5.
sub 5 is the goal.
Yeah.
Of Theodor, Olaf, and Timon right now, who do you think is the favorite going into Euros?
That's a tough one. I think that's really hard. I mean, Olaf is not really in that conversation, I think. But
Okay.
between Timon and I think the favorite, the favorite has to be a clear favorite. So I guess my answer is there is no favorite, but um, I would give it to Timon because Theodor does have these really high highs, but these highs haven't necessarily been in a finals or anything. They're just at a local comp. So, and
That
Timon
makes
is
sense.
the finals guy. So,
Cool. What do you think of the students you've coached and the fast improvers that we've seen? What do you think separates the ones who are just super, super good? Maddie got 3 very young kids who are really fast in NA. Like, I don't know how many students there were other than those 3 who directly fit the criteria he set for his elite cubing program. So his strategy is like pick the people who are the farthest ahead right now and help them go further, which is a great strategy. But if we don't have the existing benefit of knowing this kid is young and sub 7, what are the things that you've seen among your students that make somebody a really fast improver?
Well, it's partly my responsibility, of course, the speed of the cuber, but it's probably communication. So, like, I have speed, and the way that I get my student fast is through words, through communication. So, but that is from the student as well. So I think pretty much the way you're acting right now, like kind of as an interviewer, I think a student, if they were to ask questions like you've been doing throughout this podcast, I think would be very good. Just clarification questions, like, is it a good way if I think about it like this? Did I understand it correctly like this? Asking questions about the spirit behind my instructions, I think would make a good student, and obviously discipline, but that's an open door.
Sure. My brain's
Yeah,
getting
and also
tired.
one thing about Maddie, like I was talking to one of my students about this, who is actually a coach in India, Kunal Oak. He would be a great guest on your podcast. He's coaching a lot, and I was talking to him like, okay, so Maddie is taking cubers that have already made it, and then like, of course they're not at the very, very top yet, but they're young and they're fast. And I get that Maddie like wants to make sure they're the absolute best. So it's obviously it makes sense from his point of view. But I do wonder, like a year, like I think if you were to give me someone who doesn't know anything about cubing and coach him for a year and he's passionate about it, I think that would be a far more productive year than Maddie coaching one of his boys.
Well, what do you mean by
'Cause the-
productive? Because Maddie is trying to create an outlier of an outlier of an outlier. And like that's
well,
his
what I'm saying
stated
is-
goal. What's the goal of the taking a new person?
Well, the thing is, they already have their habits. The zero, I don't know, how do you pronounce the name?
Zarui.
Zarui.
Yeah.
They've already formed their habits. So I think, like, everybody talks about you have to have good fundamentals. Well, the fundamentals form at the start of your cubing career. So
So you're saying the better strategy is not pick a kid who's already really far ahead. You think if the goal was to create the highest level outlier possible, you would rather take a kid who you think would be a good listener, a good communicator, and shows some sort of promise around analytical, structured thinking, and teach him everything from zero.
yeah. And it shows, because Kunal was talking to me about a 4 or 5 year old Indian girl that was averaging like 18 or something. And I mean, there's obviously plenty of Chinese examples. Like, that's not impressive in terms of how fast you are, but the habits were good. Like, I saw a solve, like the habits were good. Like she's already on the right track, so she would benefit a lot from just spamming solves, and everything would just continue going right. Like, what's Maddie gonna do? Is he gonna find out that one of his kids is having some bad habits, and is he then gonna say, "Well, you have to change your style completely"? Like, is that really gonna do anything? I think I wouldn't feel comfortable advising to change someone's style a lot, even if it's wrong, because they've already gone so fast with the bad habits. So I think you also have to think about at some point their cubing career is going to end as well. So can you fit in the improvement? Like, how much improvement can you fit in within that time frame? Is it worth to replace that bad habit?
Yeah, we'll have to see what the results are like. I should get Maddie on here and we should talk about it. Like, I want to hear what he's thinking with the whole how the summer's going. I'll grab him at NAC maybe. Okay. Are there any things that we didn't touch on that you wanted to chat about? My brain's getting tired. I think we should wind this down for right now.
No, I'm good ending it here. That's good.
Sweet. Okay. Well, I guess I end everything with the same question. What aspect of cubing gives you the deepest joy?
Right. I thought about this one because I've been watching the podcast and I didn't have an answer. But I guess my most happy memory was just my first few competitions, just because, I mean, first of all, I was just a kid. I remember my childhood. I was just amazed by everything. And especially cubing, it was just such a magical experience, just walking into my first competition, just looking up like, wow, this is Matteo De Witt that I saw online do a 2x2 and sub 2. Like, that's insane. So my first comp is just my greatest memory. And then, I mean, I guess I like coaching.
Yeah.
And getting good times in comp is also good, and meeting cool cubers.